Today marks the 50th year when I ran away from home as a child. And also the 36th year of my ordination. So I'm 36 years old as a priest, and 10 years as missionary for Asia America Ministries and staff of the presiding bishop. So thank you for being here with me. Please be seated. How do you describe your walk with Christ? It was evening of the day of the resurrection, and two disciples of Jesus were walking from Jerusalem to Emmaus. One was named Cleopas, and the other was not identified. Emmaus was around 7 miles from Jerusalem, and so it was quite a long walk. It almost described my walk from my home to my school when I was a child. What happened to them on the way to Emmaus would thereafter warm their hearts, transform their lives, and revolutionize their ministries. What exactly happened on the way to Emmaus? 3 things happened. First, a stranger walked with them. Second, the stranger broke bread. And third, the stranger turned out to be Jesus. What is the significance of the walk to Emmaus to our own lives? How do we find meaning to our own walk with God? A stranger walked amongst them. We live in a world where we are taught to fear strangers. We tell our children not to talk to strangers. We are wary of strangers. They may bring harm. They may bring disease. They may bring burdens. They may disturb our peace. They may be a threat to our security. The history of immigration in this country was in some way tainted by this fear of the stranger. These new immigrants will take away our jobs. They will be a burden to our economy. So we build walls and strengthen our borders. We tighten our immigration policies. In history, some of our fears of the stranger issued itself in the form of racist laws and discriminatory policies. In May 6, 1882, the United States government issued the Chinese Exclusion Act, signed by President Chester Arthur. It was one of the most notorious restrictions on immigration, which not only prohibited immigration of all Chinese, but also deported many who were already here in this country. After we had helped America to develop mining industry in the West Coast and build the transcontinental railroads, the Chinese immigrants were branded as yellow peril and sent back to China. That act was initially intended to last for 10 years, but it continued for many years until repealed in 1943. In May 3rd, 1942, following the declaration of Executive Order 9066, at the outbreak of the war in the Pacific, following the bombing of Pearl Harbor, United States President Franklin Delano Roosevelt issued that all the Japanese will be interned. On this day, May 3rd, 1942, General DeWitt issued the Civilian Exclusion Order number 34, ordering all Japanese ancestry to be incarcerated in various internment camps in remote places in this country. 110,000 Japanese immigrants, 62% of them were American citizens, were removed from their homes and herded into concentration camps. Because of fear, we sometimes forget what the Bible says in Exodus 22. Do not oppress a stranger, for you yourselves are strangers, because you also were once foreigners. Because of fear, we forget the inscription written in the Statue of Liberty, a poem from Emmaus that says, "Give me your tired, your poor, your hallowed masses, yearning to breathe free, the wretched refuse of your teeming shore. Send these, the homeless, tempest-tossed to me. I left my lamp beside the golden door." The stranger brought bread. So it is to the credit of the disciples of Jesus that they welcomed the stranger. Not only that they listened to the story of the stranger, they invited the stranger to have bread, to be with them at dinner. Because at this point of their lives, they felt they had nothing to lose. Their leader had died and they were lonely. This Jesus whom they looked to, the deliverer of Israel, was rejected, arrested, crucified, died, and buried. What they need most at this time is a companion on the journey. They become vulnerable and they open their lives to the stranger. They sat down at table and shared their food. Brothers and sisters, it is when we realize that we too are lonely that we open our lives to others. It is when we realize that we too are vulnerable that we feel welcoming. Those people who realize that we too are strangers are kind to strangers. Those people who realize that they are suffering, that they are wounded, they open their lives to others. It is at the moment when we feel insecure, when we feel vulnerable, that we tend to open our lives to others because we have nothing to lose. When Christ preached the gospel, he saw the crowd. They were harassed and helpless like sheep without a shepherd. And so he was filled with compassion. When Christianity was brought to India, the first people who accepted Christ were the untouchables. It was not the Brahmins or the upper class. It was the masses, the Dalits, the untouchables, because they have nothing to lose. When we realize that we are poor, we are kind to the poor. As the risen Christ was realized, the stranger broke bread, and the eyes of the apostles were opened, and they recognized that the stranger was Jesus himself. In the past, their ancestors welcomed strangers who turned out to be angels. Now they welcome a stranger who turned out to be the risen Lord. And as the risen Lord vanished from their sight, they said to themselves, "Did not our hearts burn within us as he talked with us and opened the scriptures to us?" Unable to contain this amazing experience, they hurried back to Jerusalem and told the other disciples that Jesus had risen from the dead. The stranger turned out to be the risen Christ, and they would have not realized it until they opened themselves to the stranger. The experience of the two disciples on the road to Emmaus, the lessons they learned from the stranger, and the Holy Communion they partook from the risen Christ were the rewards that they received for being open and welcoming to the stranger. Their ears heard the good news because their ears are open. Their hearts were warm because they were not hardened. Their eyes recognized Jesus because they were ready to see what the stranger brings. And as they shared the good news to others, they were willing to enter into a new world a world we have not known before, a world where all things are possible. The Bible would later say that the risen Christ took them as far as Bethany to be a witness to his ascension into heaven. And Jesus commissioned them to go to the world and make all disciples of all nations, and to believe that God will be with them and to the ends of the earth. Jesus summoned them to live a life without fear, to enter a world where death has no more dominion, to enter a world where all things are possible to those who believe, and to enter a life and to live that life in all its fullness. Let me stretch your imagination today. What is this new world in our own lives? What is this new world in our context? For me, it is the world of the internet. It is a world that for a long time I had ignored. I grew up in a world, like many of you, of manual typewriters, of rotary phones, of transistor radios, sewing machines, and black and white TV. In my now over 60 years of life, I have experienced that the world has evolved from agricultural era to industrial era, and now the computer internet era. The society that we are in is changing very rapidly. When my wife and I came to New York in 2004, I first rode on the subway train, and there were still people looking to me. Today, nobody is looking at each other. Everybody is on their iPhone. Everybody is busy with their iPhones or smartphones, talking and texting, tweeting, or checking their Facebook and other social networking. Steve Jobs, the inventor of iPhone, is now dead, but the revolution he started continues. So you get the iPhone, the iPad, and the iPod, and I sleep, I snore, and I ignore. I am beginning to feel now that I'm already addicted to this little thing. And so with 3 billion of people as well, this little thing has become my constant companion. It is with me when I sleep and when I rise. It goes with me when I fly 36,000 miles above the air. It goes with me at the deepest part of the earth, which is Death Valley, California. Or it goes to the uttermost parts of the sea, which is Sabah, Malaysia. My wife should get jealous of my girlfriend, iPhone. But she does not mind, because she had Mr. Smartphone, the Galaxy 5 Android. The smartphone can do just exactly the same thing as iPhone. It can bring us friends through Facebook. It can give us community through Google+. It can excite us with news and trivia through Twitter. It can connect us with friends and families via Skype. It can put us into a meeting via Zoom or WebEx. This is the new world which we now live. We can hate it or love it, curse it or bless it, reject it or embrace it, but we can no longer ignore it. So how should we live in this new world? How do we deal with the stranger in our midst? Do we reject it like the Pharisee and call for its crucifixion? Or do we welcome it like the disciples in the road to Emmaus? Today, our senior warden, Charles Marteliara, will show us our new virtual classroom. This classroom is equipped with the latest of technology. Through this classroom, we can reach people not only inside the church, but outside the church. We can teach and share our faith abroad, and we can receive the teachings from people abroad. In 1739, Anglican clergyman John Wesley, who later founded the Methodist Church, uttered this famous phrase, "The world is my parish." Today, this prophecy has become a reality. that Paris has no longer a physical boundary. Through the internet revolution, we could be both a local church and a global church, a real church and a virtual church, a physical church and a digital church. St. James can stand as an example of a church for the world. Like the disciples on the road to Emmaus, we can welcome the stranger, offer hospitality, break bread with the strangers. In this openness and hospitality, we will discover new tools that will revolutionize our ministry and revitalize our church to move forward for the kingdom of God. My dear brothers and sisters, and especially I address to the young adults and the youth who I believe are with me. Welcome to this new world. Let us use the tools of technology for the kingdom of God and expect a miracle. Let us walk